Hi everyone, Jenny here from the Proven Group, and I am here with Selena Bridge from KX Pilates, the CEO. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Jenny. Nice to see you.
Yes, and now, so good to be here with you. And KX Pilates and you are such leaders in the franchising world. Do you want to just tell me a little bit about you and how you got here?
Sure. So this is my 5th year now at KX, which I'm very proud to say, and it still feels like a very new role. It shows how I guess I'm enjoying the work. So time flies when you're having fun. But I previous to KX, I was doing a similar role for Curves, which was another female fitness franchise. So actually, the fitness franchise journey for me, I've now been involved for about 10 years. I mean, look, my background, I've worked in various corporations, large, small, agency side, client side, and it's all got me to the point of now working as a leader in a business in franchising, but then bringing my passion for fitness as well. So I'm very, very lucky to be in a business and combine I guess, my corporate experience then with passion as well. So
Always the best way, isn't it?
I'm an avid client. I do have to say that to people. I'm not a trainer at KX. We really invest in our trainers. We have a quality training program, put lots into the continuous education of trainers. But I'm a client. I'm not the trainer. That's the role that I haven't done.
Love it, love it. I know you're really passionate about it, and speaking to you about it over the years, I look forward to attending a little KX Pilates session as we've discussed.
Absolutely.
Selena, let me ask you, we're living in this uncertain world, and you and I were talking, and it's difficult to look back at numbers and trends and go, because this worked like this, then the future's going to look like that. It's hard to use that backward facing data for prediction. What do you see for leaders in franchising today? What are the skills that you see as really important moving into the future, moving these businesses where they need to go and grow?
I mean, look, so many skills. I guess there's always going to be fundamentals in franchising. We've got to remember it is a business vehicle. It's a vehicle for business, and the ability to work with people, because a franchise system is just a community of independent business owners and obviously a brand and the guidelines. So the fundamentals of franchising itself have to remain, but the ability to work with people and guide people on that journey is critical. So probably more than ever, I think the world's also turning into more of a recognition of empathy and relationships, and just how important. I think that's what we definitely saw it. The power of people being able to get through unpredictable situations, getting through stress, being able to innovate and adapt quickly. The people either make it or obviously can break it as well. So really making sure that if you're trying to move a big and a growing system forward, that real connection and understanding of how to get the best out of people and working relationships is key. So I think that's probably going to be just that more and more focus of people, relationships, emotions, resilience. That's going to be critical. And we say that all the time. Again, nothing's changed in franchising in the sense of, if you've got a great idea and you want to roll it out across the system, you need the buy-in from your franchise partners. You can have the best idea ever. If they're not on board, it doesn't happen. So we've always got to go back to the fundamentals of success is when you're working together.
Totally could not agree with you more. And I think that's the strength of franchising, isn't it? If you get that people side right, and that the trust and the working together and the empathy, as you talk about, it's just so powerful.
I will say, Jenny, sorry to almost to bring in an example. And we see that as a brand as well. It's challenging in franchising because you want to be able to innovate, you want to lead, and you should be one step ahead of the franchise partners, because they're there to also follow. I mean, work with, but follow the system and the pathway that you put forward. Of course, that's also challenging as you go forward, and I think you've got to be innovating perhaps a little bit quicker. And it doesn't necessarily mean making major changes, but always looking at data, being prepared to change.
Yeah.
So that is a challenging space, because there's never going to be a period as a franchisor, or probably as a franchisee as well, we go, we can just sit back and relax and do nothing, because we're in business, we're in competitive landscapes. It's about how do we continue to innovate and then bring the partners on that journey and navigate change management. So we went through that big change with COVID, obviously, but probably we've all had a little bit of a, you know, an MBA on how to get through that uncertainty and change, because that's just so fundamental for business going forward. I think things are getting more competitive and we've got insights quicker. There's new market entrants, so we've got to be able to help change and innovation again within that franchise system.
Really, really interesting. And I wonder your thoughts on, as you're not a new brand to the market, far from it. But what year was KX established in?
2010. So yeah, we're 13 years old now.
So let's call it a newer brand as opposed to brands that have been going for 30 years. You know, we're living in a time where things are changing all the time. And I think the sorts of franchisees that you bring on now, are you finding that's kind of part of the culture and the expectation that things are going to develop and change?
Yes, I think so, because they can then see there's a history of change along the way. If you first start out, and I do really respect some of that, we've actually still got some original OGs who have been with KX for 10 years or, you know, around that time. But of course, what they bought into was very different. It's a lot easier now when we're speaking to people who are joining the brand to also go through the history and what's changed, and then also set the expectation of, well, you do have to change and evolve going forward. Of course you do. Yeah. So I think as the brand, naturally, we're able to set that expectation. Likewise, you bring people in who know that there's going to be an element of change. But again, KX today, and I'm sure KX in 10 years' time, there needs to be some differences.
Yeah, love it, love it. Who's inspired you, Selena? I mean, you've had an amazing career. I'm sure you've worked with some incredible people. Who's inspired you to be you?
Yeah, I mean, great question, because I look back at my, one of my first roles ever. I actually worked for a sports marketing agency in England, and I just remember my boss being just such an authentic person who worked with integrity, lots of fun, and it was a good, positive working relationship. Loved going to work. Likewise, if mistakes were made, it's not this blame finger pointing. I remember he did something but held his hand up and went straight to the client to say, this is what's happened, this is how we're going to get through it. And so right from the beginning, it was very much about being authentic, honest, using integrity. And that I talk about this all the time, like that's just very much stayed with me. And that was great, because that was my first sort of expectation of what work should be, rather than maybe going into a company where there's political issues or people are just trying to do things for themselves and look good in front of others. So I've always, for me, it's all about, even as the leader, I know it's easy to say if you are the leader, but I don't want to see team members fighting to look like they're the ones who have had the best idea. For me, success is very much the collaboration, the support. There's errors, own it, move on. So I've definitely taken that through. And yeah, I think I've been lucky. Most of my jobs I've actually just really enjoyed, even if it's an industry which I didn't know too much about it. It's the people that make the difference. So I think I've definitely taken that in. For me, I really only take jobs that I feel connected to, values are aligned, and then likewise, then I look for people to join our team with that shared values. I just know how important that is.
I love it.
Satisfaction and fit.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, a great leader in your early career makes such a massive difference to the whole career of, inspiring you to what can be. Yeah, love that. Love that. Let's flip the conversation to franchise partners, franchisees. A win-win for everyone is critical, and it's a model that if it works, it's magic. It's just the best. And if it doesn't, it's not great. Yeah. So what do you see as the skills? And some of these are innate, some of them can be learned, but what are the skills that you see in order to ensure that a franchisee is successful, is profitable, and can work within that franchise environment?
And it's funny you say skills, because I think there's skills, there's behavior, and there's attitude, because it's all of those things. Because skills, the person coming in to run a business has to either have or be prepared to learn business skills. They are running a small business, and that's the beauty of it. They've got the opportunity to run a business within a slightly protected framework. There's a brand and there's principals, there's people to coach you along the way, but they have to be able to run a business. So if you're not prepared to understand what it takes to run a business and have the skills to learn, like not everyone comes into franchising with prior business skills and knowledge, but if you can learn them, great. So again, it's that expectation. Obviously, as I said, behavior and attitude as well, leaning in and wanting to also develop a relationship with both the franchisor and then peers, so that when it works well, it's because you've got a community hubbing, you're sharing ideas, you're giving as much as you're taking. That's very important. That's not a skill. It's almost like this emotional intelligence of understanding how to get the most out of that franchise system. So, and then the ongoing ability for communication. It's never going to be a perfect journey along the way. Any community of people, different personalities, different stages of their business, different challenges. So it's just never going to be perfect, but the ability to actually understand what they're going in and try and work around and seek that win-win, that's really critical.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think the attitude piece is a really interesting one, isn't it? And I'm sure, when you're looking for new franchise partners, that attitude is very much part of the process of looking.
People aren't robots, and that, just being completely, every franchisor would say, oh gosh, there's a challenge here with an owner. It's not necessarily always a challenge. I really try and look at why are they in this situation and try and understand it. So, I don't think anyone's ever set out to be bad or difficult, but maybe they're under massive pressures. But ideally, it's then still being able to open up that communication. And I know that, in franchising, the communication is key. What you don't want is blame or just moving away and not talking like that. That's just the worst. Like, how do you come together to try and resolve whatever it is and work towards that future together?
I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing so many insights and thoughts and ideas with us. Yeah, I really think the more the franchise community can talk and share and understand, how to do it really well, the better the industry is. So thank you for all you do, and really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Jenny. Nice to see you.